Hey IQers, Jonathan Levinson here with your daily Excel tip. So in this session, we're going to start with formulas. So everyone knows formulas inside of Excel. Um, you might just be using some of the more simplified ones like summing, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail on some of the variations of kind of some of the standard aggregation, right? Like so summing up data, we're going to be looking at counting data, and then we'll also be looking at averaging that data. Um, with different criteria and how you facilitate that inside of Excel. So if we take a look, actually, I'm going to go ahead and create a new window. I'm going to arrange these so we can see these side by side. So we have all of our data here. This is just a data range, not a table. Doesn't really make a difference if it is. So we have all this data, and we want to kind of get some very specific numbers based on criteria. Now, yes, you could probably do a pivot table off of this and manipulate the pivot table to kind of show you some of those things, but sometimes it's just a lot easier just to kind of summarize in a format that you may want outside of how a pivot table reacts. So let's start up really quick. So we're going to do total sales, right? So we're going to be using the sum function. Now, for those that aren't familiar, you could go to the formulas table and go to your insert and look up your sum, and it will actually take you and say, okay, what's number one and what's number two and number three and so on and so forth. In this case, we can just start typing. You start with an equal sign. That's going to start the formula. I'm going to type in sum. I'm going to hit tab. That's automatically going to open up my parentheses. And then I could just go ahead and, drag my data, hit enter, and I get my total number of sales. So the next thing we want to talk about is the sum if. And the sum if will only sum, right, if a specific criteria is being met. So, excuse me, in this case, we want to look at the total pencil sales. So I've gone here, I've already filtered this out. Look, we have a total of $2,135.14 that we have sold in pencils. But we can get to that by using the equal sum if. And now it's going to ask for the range. Well, the range that I want to look up is actually column E. And the criteria, right, is pencil. So that is what the criteria that has to be met. So when I hit comma, you'll notice my next piece, right, is my sum. What do I want to sum? Well, I want to sum up H. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And what you notice is we get that same number. So again, very cool. Now let's get into a little bit even more complicated where there's multiple criteria, right? So maybe it's not just about pencil sales, but what if it's pen sets that were sold on a specific date? Well, you can do that using the SUMIFS function. So we're going to go equal sum if s. I'm going to tab it out. Now this one's a little bit different. So the very first piece of this is asking the sum range. So again, I would like to sum on H. Our next piece, right, is the criteria range. Well, again, we want to look up, I'm going to have to move this. I want to look up column E because that's where the different items are. And my criteria is, always has to be in double quotes, pen set, comma, and then you'll notice what's the next range. So my range is column A. And then what is the criteria? Well, it's a date. So I want to do a double quote and then put 8/24, 2019, close my double quotes, and I get to 12/38/15. So again, if you just want to validate, right, if you want to double check and see that that is actually correct, we're going to go here. Here's my 2,824. If I go and sum these, right, if I just drag these, I can see my sum down in the bottom. I got 1238.15. So I'm not going to go through all the rest of these, but you have these same functions in counting as well as average. So let's talk about the next one. We're going to do an example of a COUNTIF-S. So we want to look at the number of transactions that happened in Florida in 2019. So I'm going to go ahead. Well, just to start off, I actually added a column called year. And just so you see what that formula looks like, it's literally equals year. And then I'm pointing it to the date itself, and it will extract the year out of it. So let's go ahead and start our formula. Equal count if S. So our criteria range, again, we want to look Florida. So let's go to our state, right? Our state is Florida. Our next criteria is the year. So I'm going to go ahead and hit column B. I'm going to hit comma. It says what is the criteria, right? And the criteria is 2019. Go ahead and close that out. And what we get is 3. So let's go ahead and validate that, right? We're looking at Florida and we're looking for 2019. Here's your 3. Good example there. And let's just do one more. We'll do an average if. So we want to look at average sales that are actually over $100. Right. So we can see there are a couple sales. Let's go ahead and just sort this smallest to largest. So, up to row 9, we have less than 100. So let's not look at those because those aren't important to us. So equal average if. So my range again is, I'm going to go total. My criteria is that it is greater than 100. And then what is the range? Well, the range happens to be the same as the total. All right, you actually need to put these in double quotes. And what we get is 179. Got too many numbers there. 1,079.93. So let's look at that really quick. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight anything above 100. I'm going to go down. Going to get down here, and we have an average. Oops, we have the total, so that screwed that up. My bad. So let's look at the average of 549.99. It's perfect. So I hope this is helpful. There are hundreds and hundreds of formulas. I promise you, if you need to get it done, you can do it inside of Excel. I'll go into more advanced formulas in a later session, but I hope you guys have a great day and stay safe.